WrestleMania weekend is officially over, and I wanted to take a moment to discuss my thoughts on the event, the matches, the results, and everything involved with these two amazing nights of professional wrestling. If you enjoy wrestling discussion videos, by all means, subscribe. This is my new YouTube channel. My original channel is A.T. Riley or A.T. Riley Productions. On this channel, I look to explore more into other types of content and other things that I enjoy, wrestling just being one of those. So if you want to see more wrestling-related videos and discussions, please subscribe, hit the like button on this video. Now let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to be discussing both nights, so as not to split the video into multiple parts, considering the event is completely over. Starting off with night one, of course, we had the opening match between Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World Championship against Becky. Now, I have been saying for a while to friends of mine that once Rhea won the title, they were going to keep her and Becky pretty separated because they're going to want to make this a WrestleMania match. A big deal considering how over Becky is and has been in the past. And, of course, how over Rhea Ripley continues to grow. Now, the match was excellent. I thought the match was really, really good, considering Becky was sick, apparently. Commentary had mentioned that Becky had been dealing with strep throat all week, which really sucks. Anyone who's been sick and then tried to do anything active, whether it be, working out or whatever, knows how much it sucks to try and power through something like that. And trying to put on a wrestling match, which obviously I have no idea about what it's like to put on a wrestling match at this level, but I have wrestled and done wrestling matches. So I can say I kind of understand in a way how difficult that must have been for Becky to do, and yet she still put on a great performance. Obviously, I don't personally think the match lived up to Rhea versus Charlotte from last year. But of course, Becky being sick played a huge part in that. It was a great match nonetheless. Rhea Ripley continues to show why the company has so much faith in her. Pretty much all of my predictions for this year's WrestleMania were spot on with the exception of one, and I'll get to that prediction, that incorrect prediction later. Rhea Ripley obviously being played out by Motionless in White, by Chris Motionless, was awesome. I thought it was going to happen last year. It ended up not happening. But it happening this year was really, really cool. Rhea Ripley is one of those stars that's just exceptionally good at selling. She's very, very good at selling despite being the dominant force that she is. Top to bottom, the match was very well done. We had work rate moments. We had some pretty decent storytelling in this match. I've said about Becky Lynch many times, when it comes to comparing her to the other three of the four horsewomen, Becky Lynch's ring work was never the best out of the four by any means. Not saying she's bad, of course. Becky's one of the best in the world at what she does. But out of the four horsewomen, I had always said her ring work, her work rate was never the best out of the four, but her character work was some of the best, if not the absolute best, out of the four. Because the two workhorses of that group when it comes to work rate were Charlotte and Sasha Banks. Bayley right after them, and then Becky. Becky has, of course, over the years elevated her game to a point to where her and Bayley are pretty close, and to a point really where Becky, in some cases, even eclipses Bayley when it comes to work rate. Not to say Bayley doesn't, tear the house down when she really, really, goes out there and wants to do that, because she does. All four of the horsewomen are absolutely amazing talents. But nowadays, I'd probably say that Becky and Bayley, their work rate are pretty close to even. Both of them have good nights. Both of them have bad nights. And considering Becky was sick, both of them had good nights this weekend. Moving on to the ladder match for the WWE Unified Tag Team Championships. Everybody had been calling this one for a while. I was no exception. My predictions for this were pretty spot on. And I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn and say that, I guess right and I predict right all the time when it comes to wrestling. I'm actually wrong fairly often. But when it came to this event, I was pretty much right in every way. I was right about Rhea retaining against Becky. With this match, I was like, yeah, Awesome Truth and A-Town Down Under, they're going to be the ones to walk out, especially once I heard that they were going to split the titles and that a team had to take down both sets of titles in order for the match to end. Once I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, 100%. Awesome Truth, A-Town Down Under, that's who we're going to have walk out as tag champions. And I was right. The match was great, as expected. Not the best ladder match I've ever seen. I've seen many better ladder matches. But this one was very, very good. It had really good high spots. It managed having 12 people in it very well. And consider that, 12 guys in a ladder match. That's impressive. That they could manage that many bodies flying around in a ladder match. Because ladder matches are already chaotic by nature. You put 12 people in there, and it's just, you expect it to just be a mess. But it was actually pretty well orchestrated and put together. It really says a lot about both the talent and the producers who helped put this match together. R-Truth finally getting a WrestleMania moment obviously was really, really cool. It's nice to see that the company still wants to back guys like Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, especially Theory, coming off last year with his match against John Cena, which many felt was a pretty subpar match. I don't think that was of any fault of Theory's, but again, ladder match was really great. I was very happy with it. Next, we have the tag match, Rey Mysterio and Andrade against Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. This feud, I'd say the feud was pretty solid overall. The introduction of Dominic Mysterio felt really out of left field and kind of random. I get it, he's back to feuding with his dad, I guess, to some degree. But it just felt, considering how last minute it felt sort of random. Taking Dragon Lee out, putting Andrade in that spot. I don't know if that was the right call or not. Andrade's a good talent. Dragon Lee is a good talent. I think this is more about setting up future storylines, particularly with Carlito. I think Carlito is, I think he's going to play a bigger role in the future of this particular story. The match was very good. Dominic continues to improve every time he's in the ring. Again, Santos Escobar, great talent. Andrade, great talent. Rey Mysterio, one of the best to ever do it. Another really exceptionally good match. A lot of lucha things going on in this match. Some decent storytelling. The two guys at the end, football players or something. I don't know who they are because I don't watch football or any other sport other than wrestling. But that felt kind of out of left field. I felt like they could have finished this match and cleaned it up in a more self-contained way. But the match overall was very good. It was the type of match you expect from around a mid-card match for WrestleMania. So I can't say I can't say it disappointed in any means. Rey Mysterio, of course, doing what he does best. And of course, I had called that Rey Mysterio and Andrade were going to be the ones to win, especially once Andrade got swapped in place of Dragon Lee. Once that happened, I was like, they're for sure winning. Had it just been Rey and Dragon Lee, I might have been inclined to think, okay, Santos and Dom might win this. But once they swapped in Andrade, I was like, they're 100% winning. They want Andrade to feel like a big deal. They're not going to hand him a loss in his first real match, especially at WrestleMania, since returning to WWE. The brother versus brother match, Jimmy and Jey Uso. It was definitely a match. And what I mean by that was, this is the one match that kept it from being a 100% slam dunk perfect WrestleMania. Every other match I felt delivered in some degree on its build, except this one. And what's crazy is this match had one of the better video packages of the weekend, of the whole weekend. The video package did more for this match, for this feud, than the actual build did. The build was weak, the match was weak. The match wasn't bad, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the match was, it wasn't a bad match, but it didn't feel like a match worthy of WrestleMania. And the people I was watching WrestleMania with, we all agreed. Watching this match, it felt like we were waiting for it to kick into third gear, which just never came. You know, like we were ready for it to really kick it up a notch and go into that next level, and it just never happened. And then before we knew it, it was over. Of course, being a big Shawn Michaels fan, I love the Usos, but being a Shawn Michaels fan, I don't like the just complete destruction of the value of the super kick. It's my biggest gripe with the Usos. It's my biggest gripe with the Young Bucks is the fact that they're not the only ones, others have done it too, but those two teams are the biggest culprits for killing the super kick. As much as I like the Usos, that's always going to bother me as a big Shawn Michaels fan. The build itself was weak. I felt like there was so much more they could have done with the build for this match. They could have involved Rikishi. They could have made this feud a lot more grounded. It's brother versus brother. One betrayed the other after years and years of being a tag team, of being inseparable. There's so much more they could have done to make this an emotional match, and it was just a super kick party. This match was everything it didn't need to be. The match felt like something we would get at just a live event rather than a WrestleMania match. This match could have even passed for a TV match, but not a WrestleMania match. Maybe even a smaller PLE match, it would have been passable. But for a stage this big, biggest WrestleMania of all time, they kept peddling that all week, for months now. This just did not deliver. And it certainly didn't deliver on its hype. I felt like there was a lot left on the table with this match and with this feud, and maybe it's not over. Of course, we all knew Jay was going to win. 100%. We all knew that. But again, maybe this feud isn't over. Maybe there's more to be uncovered here, and maybe they can make up for this subpar WrestleMania match. It's entirely possible. It didn't seem like there was true resolution by the end, just a winner. So it's entirely possible this isn't over. This could segue into maybe what the Bloodline does next. Who knows? In this new age of wrestling, especially this new era of WWE, you can never be too sure about where things are going to go. You really, in this era, more than almost any era prior, you have to have patience and you have to have a wait and see attitude. Let's see how this plays out. Let's see how it unfolds in the future. Again, there wasn't a true resolution in this match, just a winner. So, weak match, weak build. I'm interested to see if they build on it further or if this is just the end of it and we just have what we have. The 6-women tag match. Damage Control versus Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill. This match had absolutely no business being, this good. It was actually, I thought it was a very, very good match. Of course, we knew Jade Cargill's WrestleMania debut. Her first match that wasn't, the Royal Rumble. We knew they were going to win. The big three, we knew they were going to win. Nobody thought otherwise. I was interested to see if the training Jade had been going through was going to pay off. The way they presented her in this match, it looks that way. But of course, So, a 6-woman tag match, and she wasn't in the ring for that long. So, we'll have to wait and see for future matches and future appearances if that training has paid off. The match itself, I thought, was very fun. It was very good. I don't think it was, phenomenal or great or anything. I think it was very good. It was, sitting there watching the match, I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed the Usos by far. Watching this match, all I could think is, this is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting a very sort of subpar match. I was expecting a match that's it might be okay, it might be pretty good. But this was actually a very good match, I thought. I thought every woman delivered. The entrances were really cool. Which, by the way, the entrances for this Mania, all of them were amazing. This Mania had to have had the most special entrances of any Mania in history. Because a lot of people had really cool special entrances. It was very cool. The attires, very cool. Really like Jade's gear, liked Bianca's gear. I liked Asuka's face paint. Dakota's gear was certainly interesting. I think overall, this match was worthy of being on WrestleMania. Again, as another mid-card match, it was as good as you could expect from a mid-card WrestleMania match. And I very much look forward to seeing in the future Jade Cargill perform in more singles matches and seeing if the training has truly paid off for her, because you can look at Jade Cargill and obviously that's a star. It doesn't take someone who's been watching, their whole life, who's been watching wrestling their whole life, which I have, to tell that she's a star. People have made names for themselves, have become stars in this business without being great in the ring. Doesn't happen often, but it has happened. You can be subpar in the ring, but as long as you have charisma, the look, and can at least speak on the mic, you might still become something in this business. However, it doesn't typically work the other way around. You can be phenomenal in the ring, one of the best ever, but if you've got the charisma of a black hole, if you're a charisma black hole and you can't talk, you don't have the it factor, you don't have the look, but you're just really good in the ring, you're just not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And I know you can probably pick a few exceptions. There's always, exceptions. There's 1,000 exceptions to every rule. But generally speaking, you can be great in the ring, but if you don't check any other box, you're not going to make it. But if you check every box, but you're just okay in the ring, you might still make it. Jade Cargill could still make it regardless if she's great in the ring or not. But I'm very interested to see if the training has paid off. I'm very interested to see how she's improved. Sami Zayn versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. This was the only prediction I got wrong for the entire weekend. I thought Gunther was going to retain. And honestly, I was hoping Gunther was going to retain. I, like many, was very upset that Sami got this spot over Chad Gable. I am even more bummed out that Sami's the one to dethrone Gunther because it felt undeserved. He got flung into this feud. There was no prior build to, him being the guy to topple Gunther. And he turned out to be the one to do it. And I get it. Sami's the ultimate underdog. I've never been a huge fan of Sami. I thought he was doing amazing work last year with the Bloodline stuff. That's probably the highest I've been on him for his whole career. Some of his NXT stuff was really good. I liked the whole conspiracy thing he did a few years ago. Generally, I'm not a fan of his, though. Sami is a really good performer. He's a good actor. He knows how to tug on your heartstrings. But there's just something about him that I just can't get into. And, I was very into him and Kevin Owens winning the tag titles last year. I wanted them to win. And then they did. And then their reign sucked, to be frank. the reign was not good. It was not entertaining. That was the zenith. What I didn't like was that a guy like Chad Gable, who's been doing this for a while now and hasn't gotten these opportunities to have these moments, got passed over just to shoehorn Sami Zayn into WrestleMania because he was hot a year ago. That bothered me. That bothered me a lot. And it bothers me more that he won. When they could have used defeating Gunther to make somebody when Sami's already made. He didn't need this. I didn't care about him going to great lengths to capture a title he's already held. To have a moment he's already had. I would have been far more invested to see someone like Chad Gable have his moment. But maybe they thought that having Chad Gable in this match to try and capture his moment to reach a level of success that he hasn't yet reached in this business, maybe they felt that would have just mirrored Cody Rhodes' story too much. And they didn't want two very similar things happening in the same weekend. It's entirely possible. Now, the match itself, phenomenal. One of the absolute best matches of the weekend, as Sami often has. Sami's a absolutely great performer. He's a great wrestler. I cannot like or not be a fan of somebody and still acknowledge that they're really, really good at what they do. He's very good at what he does. He's just not my cup of tea. They had an absolute phenomenal match. Sami Zayn hitting the brain buster on the turnbuckle. Great ending to a match. Great callbacks to people who've been fans of Sami for a long time throughout his whole career. And if you know, you know. I thought it was just phenomenal. Gunther, obviously, great performance as always. Gunther is one of the best of this generation. You don't have to be, doing 20 suicide dives, 50 flips, and flying all over the ring to be considered the best. Gunther's one of the best. Now that the Intercontinental title's off of him, I look forward to seeing where he goes next. He might not leave the Intercontinental title scene immediately just yet. I think, it's going to be a slow build for his climb to the world title, but I think we'll see it happen. Whether or not he goes for the World Heavyweight title or the WWE title remains to be seen. He can make either work. I think eventually he will hold both. Not at the same time, of course, but I do think he will hold both. Of course, he could hold them at the same time. If anybody was going to hold both of them at the same time, it'd be Gunther, but I don't want to see any more unified titles. If you're going to split them, keep them split. But great match. I guess, big moment for Sami, even though he had a big moment last year, a far bigger moment last year, but it is what it is. Phenomenal match. The main event of night one. Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins versus The Rock and the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, where the winners get to pick the stipulation, or rather, who wins will decide the stipulation for the following night's main event. If Rock and Roman win, Bloodline rules. If Cody and Seth win, main event will be Bloodline free. I called this a while ago. Once I found out this is what they were going to do, 100% I knew Rock and Roman were winning. I had a big feeling this was going to be Cody's weekend. And I knew they were going to want to stack the deck against Cody in every conceivable way. That way, when he overcame it, whether it was with help or not, it would be just that much bigger and that much sweeter for Cody and for Cody fans. I'm a Cody fan. I'm also a Roman Reigns fan. I'm also a Rock fan. I'm also a Seth Rollins fan. I'm a big fan of every guy in this match. The Rock entrance, the final boss entrance was amazing. Really, really loved it. Loved the flaming Brahma Bull. Rock's work for this feud has just been some of the best work of his career, which is saying something. I mean, we're talking about a legendary career in this business The Rock has had. But this work as a heel some of the best heel work I've seen in wrestling. The build was phenomenal. For this match in particular, the build for this was better than, I don't want to say better than the build for Cody and Roman, because Cody and Roman had a longer build. They had to do less this year because they did so much last year to build it. But it was definitely great. I don't know what it was about The Rock making his entrance with the People's Championship, but that pissed me off. I don't know why it pissed me off. And I told my friends that when we were watching. I don't know why, but him walking down with that belt when he's not actually a champion pisses me off. And it was probably by design, given obviously he's a heel. He's been doing really good heel work, but it pissed me off. Great work by The Rock. This match had absolutely no business being as good as it was. This was a match I thought, okay, probably not going to be that long. Probably going to be, a showcase. I'd imagine Rollins, Cody, and Roman were going to do most of the work. But The Rock put in the work. He beat all those washed allegations. 100%. The Rock can still go when he wants to. When he puts in the work, trains, gets ready, and when he wants to put on a show, he puts on a show. And I mean it. The Rock was something else this weekend. An absolutely phenomenal main event. Went far longer than I expected to, and it was a true treat. From top to bottom, from beginning to end, this match delivered in every conceivable way. From the storytelling to the wrestling, the match itself. Rock got a whole lot, fighting with Seth, fighting with Cody and Seth. The stuff Rock was doing with Seth in the crowd. Great stuff. I had wondered if Rock was going to focus mostly on Cody, but he actually spent a lot of time fighting with Seth, which was really cool. And I imagine that was cool for Seth Rollins as well. I mean, if you're in this business, why, how could you not be excited you're going to get to work with The Rock? If you work in this business and you're a fan of this business and you got to do a match involving The Rock, there's no way you're not excited for that. Excellent match. Great teamwork on both sides. The Rock was in great shape. Roman was in great shape. I did notice Cody's looking a little smaller than he did last year. He's lost a bit of weight, Roman's lost weight as well. That's why he's looking so cut up. But top to bottom, excellent match. The storytelling in this match was great, but it was nothing in comparison to what would happen the next night. I think the biggest moment was Roman, of course, by accident, spearing The Rock. And Rock sold that spear like rent was due. It was absolutely phenomenal, the body of work Rock put forth in this tag team match. The Rock also flexing the fact that he's on the board, he's the boss, telling that ref, if you count to 10, you're fired. Basically saying, we get to do whatever we want to do. You can't do anything about it. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. The Rock is a masterclass at storytelling. Roman Reigns is a masterclass at storytelling, as is Cody. Seth's always been very good at it as well. But The Rock and Roman, there's something else when it comes to storytelling. They are prime examples why storytelling in wrestling matters and why generally, I'd say 90% of the time, it comes before the work rate, before the match itself, before the actual wrestling part. You can have a 5-star technical classic and it be forgotten in 10 years. But you can have a match where the story was perfect, was on point, was emotional, where everything clicked and fit, but the wrestling, was just sort of there in terms of a technical standpoint, but it was a moment and people will remember it for the rest of their lives. That's why storytelling in wrestling is so important. And the two main events of these two nights showed why it is that important. As we moved into night 2 of WrestleMania, during the kickoff, they kept, obviously they always ask, who do you think is going to win? And when it came to the main event, of course, people kept saying, Cody has no way of winning. We'll get to the main event shortly, but night 2 kicked off with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre had a great match. I don't think it was their best match, of course. They've had better matches in the past, both with each other and obviously with other people. But it was a very good match and a very strong opening. Another match that had a lot of really good storytelling in it. Drew McIntyre's entrance with the Scotsman, with the bagpipes, with the swords. Very cool entrance. Seth Rollins' entrance was wacky, as befitting of his personality, his character. All I could think of when Seth was entering is, what the fuck is this? I couldn't really make sense of the costumes, but that's just who Seth Rollins is. The match itself, haven't seen CM Punk, and if anybody who actually knows me personally knows I'm not a big CM Punk fan. I know, sue me, but I'm just not. I'm not a big CM Punk fan. I never have been, even in the earlier days of his career. I don't hate him as much as I used to, but I still can't say that I'm a CM Punk fan. There's probably not a situation you could put Punk in where I would hope he'd win. But that's just me. I understand that CM Punk has a lot of fans. He's one of the most popular wrestlers, arguably, of all time. One of course, not the. Drew McIntyre came down there, and I think in a kayfabe sense, what happened in this match would have been more to Drew McIntyre's liking and more in his favor had the storyline, and again, in a kayfabe sense, had he not been so focused on CM Punk the whole time. His obsession with CM Punk in kayfabe ultimately would cost him in the end. Drew McIntyre wins the match, and it's an emotional moment, very emotional moment. Drew McIntyre wins the match, finally gets to win the world title, a world championship, in front of an audience, something that was taken away from him by COVID-19, by the pandemic, when he won his first WWE title in front of nobody, an empty arena. But he had his moment, and you could tell he was feeling the emotions. Seth was feeling the emotions. We saw Seth tell him, "You deserve it," as he was walking out, and Drew had his moment. Drew would then redirect his attention to CM Punk. Start talking that shit to CM Punk. CM Punk would retaliate, take off the brace that he's had on his arm. I would assume revealing that means he's cleared, potentially. I guess we'll find out in the coming nights or weeks. And would continue to beat on Drew McIntyre. And then down comes Damian Priest. The moment Drew McIntyre just had and just shared with the audience, here comes Damian Priest with the Money in the Bank. He's been fighting these worst Money in the Bank holder allegations for months, for almost a year. He comes down, cashes in, and wins the World Heavyweight Championship. A major, major cash-in. Major deal. In one night, we got our second and third World Heavyweight Champions, because this title doesn't share the lineage of the original World Heavyweight Championship. It's a new lineage. We got our second and third in one night. So the lineage of this new World Heavyweight Championship is as follows: Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest. Damian Priest gets his moment with the title at WrestleMania in front of an audience with the Judgment Day. Big deal. I like Damian Priest. I don't know if he's long-term world champion material, but I really like him. I don't know if he'll win many more world titles beyond this one, but again, I do like him. So again, the match itself was really great. The entrances were really great. It wasn't the best match that they've had together. I think this was the right call. I knew Drew was going to win. I was happy that Drew won. Part of me felt sad that he had his moment and then Damian came to take it away. COVID took away his first moment. Damian took away his second moment. Of course, CM Punk played a part in that as well, which of course is going to lead into a huge feud with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. If not now, then shortly or later this year. And it's going to be amazing. The feud that he's going to have with CM Punk is going to be phenomenal. Of course, knowing that Clash of the Castle is going to be in Scotland, Drew McIntyre is going to walk into that event probably in a title match and will win it. So he'll have another moment, this time not only in front of a crowd, but in front of his countrymen, which will make it that much more special. I think this was the right call in the long run. He got to have his moment at WrestleMania that COVID took away from him, and now he's going to have another moment fairly soon at Clash of the Castle in front of his own countrymen. Definitely, in my opinion, the right call. The Philadelphia Street Fight. Final Testament versus, what do they call themselves? The Pride, which would be Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. It was about what I expected. It was a pretty solid match. I don't think it was great, but it was pretty solid. It was actually really good. Of course, Street Profits, Montez in particular, is phenomenal. Not to, knock on Angelo Dawkins, who, of course, also deserves his flowers for the degree of improvement he has shown over the past, I'd say, 2 years or so. It was actually a pretty fun match. Bubba Ray coming out and being the special guest referee, was not expecting it, but it was very cool that it happened. The whole Get the Table segment between the Pride and Bubba Ray Dudley, again, very cool moment, very nostalgic. I just wish Devon could have, taken part in that. It was very, very cool. Really enjoyed this match. Don't really have a lot to say about it. It was just sort of, because it did kind of feel like a filler match, which it in a way was. It seemed like a reason to give Bobby Lashley and these guys a Mania match when, Bobby was supposed to have a Mania match last year and didn't. I think it's long overdue that Montez Ford is separated from Dawkins and is made into a single star, personally. Because the longer the Street Profits stay together, the more, I'd say the more hype and momentum they seem to lose. Which is ridiculous because they are two of the best performers in the company when it comes to in that ring. And they're arguably one of, if not the best tag team in that company when it comes to what they do in that ring. Montez is extremely entertaining. He has the look. He's got the charisma. He's good enough on the mic, and he's phenomenal between those ropes. I don't think Angelo Dawkins is going to ever be a world champion, but I think he'll be a very, very successful mid-card champion, Intercontinental United States champion one day. Montez Ford has the tools to be a world champion. If not now, then someday. The match itself, Karrion Kross is he's good. He's good. He's not bad in the ring, but he's not great. He's good. He had a good entrance for a while, but just him as a performer is just auraless. He has absolutely no aura about him. He doesn't have a lot of charisma. He's just sort of there. He's just sort of there. Authors of Pain, never been a big fan of theirs. But that comes from my personal taste when it comes to wrestlers. I'm not a big fan of just the really big guy tag teams. They're okay at what they do. I've definitely seen worse, but I've seen far, far better tag teams. Again, they don't have a lot of charisma, in my opinion. So, the match was a good filler match. It was a good match to let everybody sort of come down just a little bit before they proceeded with the event. I think it did its job well. AJ Styles versus LA Knight. This feud felt like... The feud was good. The build was good. But it felt like it just couldn't invest fans in a way that justified how well done the build actually was. For one reason or another, a lot of people weren't really getting behind this rivalry. But it was a very, very good match, I felt, and a very, very good feud. LA Knight and AJ Styles are both really good performers. AJ Styles is one of the best of all time when it comes to performing in that ring all around. He's one of the few superstars, one of the few wrestlers I hold in almost as high esteem as Shawn Michaels. Obviously, AJ being a bit older, he can't move quite like he used to, can't fly quite like he used to. He's lost a step, but he's still very good at what he can do. What he can do is put on a good match. Now, it's been a while since I've seen a phenomenal match from AJ, but he can still put on a very good match. LA Knight, not many people talk about LA Knight's in-ring ability because it's just sort of there. You know, he's not bad, he's not great, he's good. Where LA Knight succeeds is in his personality, his charisma, his ability to speak on the mic and connect with that audience. Again, you can be a subpar wrestler, but if you check all those other boxes, you can be something in this business. LA Knight checks all those boxes. And he's not even a subpar wrestler. He's actually pretty good. He's just not the best. And I don't think anybody could make an argument that he is. AJ Styles debuted a new entrance music as well, presumably done by Def Rebel, and of course it's subpar because 90% of the music Def Rebel does is subpar. I don't think it's awful, but it just, I don't know. We didn't hear enough of it, to be honest, because AJ immediately beelined down to the ring to put in that work on LA Knight, like only a roided up Southerner can do. I need to hear more of the theme song before I can actually judge it. LA Knight winning the match is another match I called correctly. I felt like, okay, this is LA Knight's first WrestleMania. He's getting this win over AJ. AJ's had a few of them. LA Knight also being the face, and this being his first Mania, I was like, yeah, he's definitely going to get the win, and I was right. I think all in all, the match was pretty solid. It was a pretty good match. Again, felt like a good mid-card WrestleMania match. And now I'm very, very eager to see where both people go from here, AJ and LA Knight, because AJ is in the twilight of his career. LA Knight's no spring chicken either, but in terms of his WWE career, it feels like it's just getting started. He's still very over, though I don't think he's as over as he previously was. When people were begging for him to be a world champion, he doesn't seem to have that anymore, but he still gets huge reactions every single time he steps through those curtains. I'm very, very interested to see where LA Knight goes. Hopefully, sometime in the near future, we see him as a champion, preferably as a world champion, but at this point, I'd suffice for a mid-card champion. The triple threat match for the United States Championship. Logan Paul, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. I knew this was going to be an entertaining match, and it did not disappoint. I also knew Logan Paul was going to retain. 100%. He's holding that belt probably until at least SummerSlam. Logan Paul, like many, not a fan. Or at least I wasn't. I thought, it's just some dickhead YouTuber coming in to do his, to get fit, an extra 15 minutes of fame in a business he doesn't belong. And I was incredibly wrong about that assessment. Logan Paul continues to prove every time he goes out there that this may have been what he was meant to do. And that his social media fame and notoriety was the launching pad he needed to catapult him into doing this at a high level immediately. How quickly he has taken to this business is nothing short of amazing. Of course, being in the ring with two veterans like Kevin Owens and Randy Orton just makes things even better. Especially this version of Randy Orton, this version of Kevin Owens, who were just even more entertaining than they had been previously. And that's saying something. Randy Orton, there's not really a time in his career where he wasn't at least good. And then, of course, there's several times in his career where he was phenomenal and great. I think this is an exceptionally, I don't know if I'd say this is the best version of Randy Orton we've ever seen, but it's definitely up there. Randy Orton is an all-time greatest wrestler and performer and entertainer of all time. He's for sure going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. The appearance from Speed was not expected, but funny. That's another, he's another social media guy I don't particularly care for, but it was funny, especially seeing him get laid out by Randy Orton. The guy's small, especially next to Randy Orton, who's huge. Randy Orton's a big individual. So seeing him lay out Speed the way he did, I was thoroughly sports entertained, I guess. Again, I knew Logan Paul was going to win this match. I had a feeling how exactly it was going to go. And I had a feeling that Randy Orton wasn't going to be the one to eat the pin. Logan Paul for sure is going to retain that title until WrestleMania. That's my prediction. The WWE Women's Championship match between Io Sky defending against Bayley was another match that was even better than I thought it was going to be. Bayley had a very interesting entrance with a sort of Egyptian theme. Her gear was really, really cool for WrestleMania. Io Sky, we of course know is a great performer. Bayley being one of the four horsewomen, we know is a great performer. So we knew the ingredients were there to have a really good match, and I think it turned out to be a great match. Again, I think this was one of the better matches of the weekend. Another match, I called Bayley winning this. And I think a lot of people did, especially with the amount of sympathy, babyface sympathy she had built after being betrayed by Damage Control, and after having a very, very long sort of year and a half, 2 years of Bayley just, taking loss after loss. It was finally time. Bayley was always one of the one member of the four horsewomen who was often overlooked, passed over, who many considered to be, in last place. Didn't get the big moments that the other three got. And this felt like a night to give her her flowers and to show appreciation to what she has done for this business. Because while she herself may have not had the same impact that maybe Becky did, has not had the same moments that Sasha and Charlotte have, her legacy is that she has been the constant. Everything Bayley has done has been good. Some of it better than others, but it's all been good. From her original babyface run to when she turned heel to carrying us through the pandemic. While Roman was gone during the pandemic, Bayley carried this company as she was consistently the most entertaining part about the shows. Bayley showed exactly why she is one of the all-time great women to perform in this industry, in professional wrestling. And she put on a great match with Io Sky, who, of course, is a phenomenal in-ring performer in her own right. The story was solid. The match was even better. The build was very well executed. Had one of the better builds and one of the better video packages this weekend. Bayley also got some updated theme music, it sounded like. I don't really know if it's not that much different from her previous theme. And I don't think it's anything that's, exceptionally great, but it's okay. It's okay. It's certainly not Io's theme, which is still phenomenal. But both women put on a absolutely great match, which has been a theme for the entire WrestleMania. Great matches, and then there's the Usos. But overall, almost every match on the card delivered to at least some degree was either good or great. This one was great. Bayley obviously picking up the victory and getting her moment at WrestleMania as WWE Women's Champion was really, really cool. Very deserving by a phenomenal performer. Now, finally, we discussed the main event. Not the main event of night 1, but of night 2 and of the entire weekend. The marquee match, the WrestleMania main event, which is Cody Rhodes versus the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. The match started with 2 great entrances, particularly Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes' entrance, he comes, we start with the screen showing like these banners with the American Nightmare logo on them, fire. Cody comes up with the Cody Vader with a sort of skull mask / sort of like crown helmet thing on. Brandy's obviously with him. Huge pop. This is the match everybody's been waiting for. There's a lot of anxiety around this match. A lot of anxiety for me. You know, we thought Cody was winning last year and it didn't happen. And while we were pretty sure, I was like 95% sure Cody was walking out with that title this year, after last year, I knew better than to assume anything. So, Roman Reigns enters with a orchestra playing him out to his music, which sounded even better than his theme music normally does. And they proceed to have a masterfully crafted match. Arguably one of the best WrestleMania matches that there's ever been. When we look at the entire package. A masterclass in wrestling, a masterclass in storytelling. Roman Reigns beating those you can't wrestle allegations that he had to fight for the majority of his career. Cody Rhodes proving why he deserves to be in that spot. The match was nothing short of poetic. I knew the match was going to be good because their match last year was good. I didn't know it was going to be this good. It was very, very... I could put it up there against Shawn and Taker. I can't in good faith say it was better than Shawn and Taker, but I could put it up there when it comes to the the combination of great wrestling and great storytelling. Because for maybe a little over half of the match, it was just Cody and Roman. No interference, nothing. It's just Cody and Roman doing what they do best. The chemistry that Cody and Roman have is on another level. I hope this is not the last time we get to see them have a match together because their chemistry is something else. Obviously, Roman will be remembered for his legendary feud with Brock Lesnar, whether you like or hated all their matches. That'll be a huge milestone in his career. He will also be remembered for this feud with Cody. And obviously for his legendary title reign. After having a great match, we start to get the interferences. Match isn't over, but we get Jimmy Uso interfering. And like a lot of people predicted, the Cody Vengers start to assemble. Jimmy Uso interferes. Jey Uso answers in kind. They take each other out by going through a table off the side of the ramp coming from the WrestleMania stage. That's one Bloodline member down. One Cody Venger down. Solo would be the next one to try and interfere, to try and solidify this match, this win for Roman like he did the previous year. He hits Cody with a spike. Roman's hit Cody with spears and Superman punches. Cody's been hit with a few finishers at this point. Still manages to kick out. They try to lay him out. He still manages to kick out. Solo, on the opposite end, gets a response from none other than John Cena, one that many consider to be the greatest of all time. Also, makes sense considering Solo was the last person to beat John Cena. John runs down to the ring, takes care of Solo, takes him out of the match. I don't want to spoil too many of the details because I think you should go on Peacock and watch the event if you haven't already. After he takes out Solo, The Rock's music hits. And we know what's about to happen, and it's going to be electric. John Cena gets back in the ring. The Rock comes down. And we have a stare-off between The Rock and John Cena. Everybody knows The Rock's greatest rival of all time was Steve Austin. Arguably equal to that, or at the very least, his second greatest rival was John Cena. Depending on your view. It's not my view, but depending on your view, you could say that. One of his two greatest rivals. They had a stare-off in the ring. They had a moment. They had a Rock and Hogan moment looking at the crowd. Rock lays out John Cena. As expected. The response to him, we hear the Shield music. We're thinking, oh, here comes Seth Rollins. It's obviously Seth Rollins. Kept expecting him to come down from the crowd, as did The Rock, looking for him. Seth Rollins comes in from behind in full Shield gear. But before he can do anything to The Rock, is laid out immediately by Roman Reigns. Didn't even get to interfere. So The Rock is still standing. Roman and Cody are still exhausted. Then we hear the gong of The Undertaker. The Undertaker enters the ring faster than I've ever seen him enter the ring, as he was clearly under the ring the whole time. And Undertaker hits The Rock with a choke slam, taking him out of the equation for good. Of course, many people were expecting Steve Austin. I don't know if that was ever a plan and maybe a deal didn't go through or Steve Austin didn't want to do it or whatever maybe it was. It's entirely possible that it was never the plan. Because when you consider the people that interfered on Cody's behalf, these are all people that Roman has had major feuds with and or beaten. He's had major feuds with Seth, but I don't think he's ever beat Seth straight up. But he defeated Undertaker at WrestleMania. Obviously not the one to break the streak, that was Brock Lesnar, but he defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Obviously, he had a great feud with John Cena, defeated John Cena. Obviously, he defeated Jey Uso. Then there's the history between him and Seth. So it still worked out poetically in that sense, that these are former enemies of Roman Reigns. So, everybody's been taken out. All the interference has been dealt with. And we come down in the final moments of the match where we come down to it. Roman gets a chair. Cody's getting up. And on the opposite side of the ring, Seth's getting up. And this is where things get very interesting. And the thought that went into this part of the match is phenomenal. Because as both are getting up, Roman's looking at both of them. Who should I hit with the chair? He could hit Cody with the chair and potentially wrap this up. Of course, we're talking in kayfabe. He could hit Cody with the chair, wrap this up, put him down for good, walk out again as the undisputed champion, and potentially be champion for a whole nother year. But Seth was wearing that Shield gear. Seth told Cody that he wanted to be his shield against the bloodline. He came down with the Shield entrance music. He came down dressed in Shield attire. Roman Reigns saw an opportunity to get revenge for Seth Rollins' betrayal of the Shield all those years ago. And he took it over the chance to retain his title for sure. And he hit Seth Rollins in the back with that chair the same way Seth Rollins hit him. Seth Rollins went down the same way Roman Reigns went down. Seth Rollins took a chair shot that could have been meant for Cody, but Roman Reigns was consumed by thoughts of revenge and acted on them, and ultimately would cost him the title because Cody would capitalize and finish off Roman Reigns. The story is finished. Cody Rhodes has ended the legendary and the iconic title reign of the tribal chief Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes has won the championship that his father never did. He is the first Rhodes to hold the WWE Championship. Samantha Irvin was emotional when announcing Cody as the winner, as many people, including myself, was emotional watching it. Cody was greeted by many from the locker room: Randy Orton, CM Punk, Kevin Owens, John Cena, who was already, there by ringside, Seth Rollins, who was also already there, several others. Invited Bruce Pritchard and Triple H down, as he attributed to them being two people whom without which he might not have made it back to WWE. It was a very big moment, obviously, with his mother there in the ring, with his wife there in the ring. Huge pyro. It was a very huge moment. That, akin to that of when Daniel Bryan won the titles at WrestleMania 30. 10 years later, another Cinderella story. Cody Rhodes finished the story, won the title, and now we see what's next. From top to bottom, this WrestleMania was phenomenal. One of, if not the best WrestleMania of all time, with the exception of the Uso match. I think this WrestleMania will go down as one of the greatest. And it's the beginning of a new era. Vince McMahon is gone. Triple H and others are in charge. We're going to see where WWE goes next. Thank you for listening to this extremely long video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. And I hope you all have an amazing day.
You stole my